The Reedy, Set, Grow podcast with Trish Reedy.
Welcome to Reedy, Set, Grow. I'm Trish Reedy, your host, and this is the podcast that inspires you to grow into the person that you are meant to be. So excited that you guys are tuning in today. My guest is Dave Jennings II. Dave Jennings, so glad to have you here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So Dave spent 21 years on the Blue Line. Now he runs the KC Skyline. So for those of you that don't know what that means, Dave was a police officer for 21 years with the city of Leawood. And upon his retirement, he now runs a real estate brokerage. So Dave, give us a little bit of your history. Tell us the story and the journey.
Oh, my goodness. Well, my law enforcement story started in 1994 when shortly after I got into a motorcycle crash and broke my leg in multiple places and spent 6 months sitting by the pool in June and decided, hey, you know what? I don't necessarily want to be in hotel and restaurant management, which is what I was doing at the time. And I was like, well, this is a good break. And one of my parents had
a good break.
Yeah, it was a good break. And what happened was my parents had a tenant who lived in the bottom of their home for many years. His name was Dave Seaman, and he was a commandant of the Air Force Police Academy. And I said, hey, tell me about police work, because you should try it. It's different every day, and you never know what's going to happen. And, you know, and it might be a good career. And so I did the shotgun method to law enforcement applications and got hired onto this little town of Leawood, Kansas that I knew absolutely nothing about. You know, applied for Kansas City, applied for Olathe, Shawnee, Lenexa, and the first one who called was Leawood, and so I took the job. Yeah. And then spent many, many years on the street and rode bicycles and never did do the
you did a little bit of everything.
Did a little bit of everything. So yeah, had 7 years of riding bicycles and teaching bicycle pedestrian safety and those type of things, and spent time on patrol and on the honor guard as well, and did all types of stuff. So it was fun. It was a good career.
But don't most people think there's no crime in Leawood? They need police officers?
Well, it depends on who you ask. You know, we've had certainly the volume of activity wasn't the same as the other departments. Obviously, it is Leawood, Kansas, for goodness sakes. But you know what? You've got Kansas City, Missouri to the east. You have Prairie Village to the northwest. You have Overland Park. You know, something's going to happen, and typically it's going to pass through your city. You know, we had 435, and so even though it wasn't day to day, it wasn't anything that you would make a television show out of, I certainly had an opportunity to do some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we could probably sit here for hours and tell stories.
Terrible ones.
Yeah, right. Well, and Dave knows that I make that comment about Leawood and crime facetiously, because the reason I know Dave is my husband, who now works with me in our mortgage business, was also a Leawood police officer for 10 years. And you know, that's how we've gotten to know each other and become good friends. Yeah. You know, we've had a lot of different conversations over the years related to that line of work and what it's like. And, you know, it's a really interesting time to be a police officer. And obviously you've left the business, right?
I'm out.
You're out. You've been out.
I'm 100% out, and I've been out for 6 years, something like that now. So, yeah.
And being in real estate is definitely a pivot and a change of mindset. But I'm curious your thoughts on the state of policing in America with regards to race.
Man, boy, that's just a tough one. And I will say, first and foremost, let me preface this by saying that 99% of the people in law enforcement are great. And I had tremendous relationships with everyone that I worked with. And, you know, it was nice to know that I had people who had my back at any time. At the same time, you know, there's still things that you see here and there that can be problematic. And you have to understand that, well, my relationship with law enforcement might be vastly different than anyone else's. As an African-American working in law enforcement, it's a little bit different. My mindset's a little bit different, or was a little bit different, because I'm out now.
Right.
And, you know, it was just that it was a different animal for me. So what may have seemed normal to someone else may have been just a little bit different for me in the back of my head. Not to mention, you know, my parents, you know, well, here's a story for you. So when I left Utah and came to Kansas City, one of the first things that my father told me is, hey, mind your P's and Q's, because you know what? You're not home anymore. And you know what? You run into the wrong cop, you're going to have problems. And that's from my father, you know, to an 18-year-old kid coming here for college, you know. And so those are the type of things. And when you grow up that way, you know, it's it's just a different way of thinking. And then to make that transition, with my father saying those type of things, certainly caused some interesting conversations when I went back home and said, hey, guess what I'm going to be doing now?
Right.
So it was tough, but it was a good career. And I certainly enjoyed it and loved the people I met. But yeah, it's different. Now, as far as current events go,
right.
Boy, tell you what, I'm glad I'm out first and foremost. I think that some things certainly do need to change, and we need to think about it. Everyone deserves fair and equitable police work. And I think that there are things that we can take off of a police officer's off of their table and let them do what they're supposed to do, and that's enforce things and be cops. I'm not certain that we needed to be mental health professionals. We had a lot of that in Leawood.
Right.
So
speaking of fair and equitable, I see your pin is talking about fair housing.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's a lot of that same kind of mindset from police work into real estate and taking care of your clients, making sure things are available to everybody. Give me a little glimpse into a day in the life right now as a real estate broker.
Oh, my goodness. Boy, that's all over the place. Some days it's legal questions, it's contractual questions. Other times it's just a regular people management. There's recruiting that goes on every day. I mean, it's just, you name it. And I'm the only broker. I'm the broker owner.
Right.
And so I'm it. I do have a wonderful coach in Tracy Coughlin who does a great job for me and helps me with business planning, helping take that load off of business planning and those type of things. But you name it. And speaking of fair housing, that's one of the things I have to do is I have to make sure that my agents do things responsibly as not to do something that's going to cause a fair housing action against us, because you know what, people deserve fair housing, and it's a lot easier than some people think to do a violation. Some things just you can't do, and you just have to be careful.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, so definitely a different mindset to go from wearing a uniform every day, enforcing the law, to being your own boss. I mean, tell me a little bit. I know you were a realtor while you were still working in Leawood, but then you made that transition to doing it full time. Tell me about the mindset change there.
The hardest part was going from having to clock in and clock out every day. And that was probably the most difficult part for the first couple months, because you know what, when I was in law enforcement, whatever shift I was working, get there early, put your stuff on, be at roll call. It was a very regimented type of thing, and so. And you work your 8 hours or whatever it ended up being, it's never just 8, it's always more. But, you had this clock in, clock out type of mentality.
Yeah.
And then when you get out of that, suddenly, if you don't sell, you don't eat.
Yep.
And so it was different. I think that was probably the most difficult part. As far as the transactional stuff, I'd been selling real estate since 2008, good time to start. And I figured that if I could make it during those times, then I could make it any time. And I fortunately had a good broker to start it, and got into some good habits. And it just, at that point, it was like, okay, so my real estate seems to be doing really well. And, and do I want to continue doing this or do I want to, just kind of do both?
Right.
And it's like, well, you know what, I'm going to go on my own and see if I can build something from the ground up and let's do this. And so.
Was that scary?
It was horrifying. Yeah, but it was well worth it. And, if I was pretty well prepared for it, I had a bit of a runway and those type of things prepped for it. It wasn't like I just woke up on Sunday and said, on Monday I'm out. I'm done with this,
Right.
So there was some planning involved, certainly. But, there were some opportunities there that, I just couldn't pass up. And it's like, well, let's do this.
Yeah. One of the things I think that's really cool about your brokerage, Dave, and what you have done is the space that you've built.
It's fun.
So tell us about the Skyline.
Okay, so the Skyline is at 1724 Main Street. And we are in the parking garage area of the old TWA headquarters, which is crazy. And if you can believe it,
downtown KC.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, the streetcar passes me every 10 minutes, just like clockwork. I always know what time it is. And it's actually really fun. So it's as much as I'd like to say it's an urban real estate agency, I have agents in North Kansas City and in Lee Summit and Shawnee and all over. So we cover the entire metro, but it's fun. So you come in, it's a as much as possible a paperless office. And so it's kind of fun. And one of the things, since we're in the Crossroads Arts District, I built it with the idea of it looking like an art gallery, because at the time, the First Friday's art event was very large.
Yeah.
And where else could I afford myself an opportunity to introduce myself to 400 people at a time just
great
by opening
marketing.
the doors?
Yeah.
Come
on in.
Just come on in and, and
had
have
an
a little
open
bit of fun with
house
us.
every First Friday.
Absolutely. And it's, hey, this is a great art gallery. Well, no, it's actually a real estate office. I was thinking of moving downtown. Really? Just so happens I can help you move downtown.
Yeah.
And that was the idea. That was the mindset behind it. So lucked out with that space. Just signed on for another 5 years on that space. So I'm going to be there for over 10 years.
Yeah.
That'll be awesome.
Now, this is a serious and important question. Are you going to redecorate to red and yellow and white?
Will never happen.
Oh,
Go Broncos.
we are the Super Bowl champs. We got Patrick Mahomes. We need to work on this here.
You do, but you'll reach true importance when it comes to football once you get your second Super Bowl and get them back to back.
Hey, I think we can do it.
It ain't going to happen.
Oh, okay. We could go on and on for this about this forever and ever.
I'd love to beat you up on football all the time.
Oh, man.
Just let me know. Now, this is not a good year for the Broncos, so I can't talk too much trash.
Well,
Yeah.
Man. So what do you tell your new agents, people that come on and join your brokerage? Maybe they're brand new to real estate. Maybe they're, transitioning from a different agency. What sets you apart? How do you help set them up to succeed?
Well, it depends on where they're coming from. I have a number of agents who have transitioned from jobs into real estate, and that's probably the most difficult part, because everyone knows you as in a particular role, believe it or not.
You're Dave, Officer Dave.
I was Officer Dave. I was a cop for 21 years, and so, oh, wait, you sell real estate? I didn't even think about that.
Yep.
And so what you have to do is you have to make that transition first and foremost. And it's a little bit easier now, I think, probably because, you can show your different real estate activities on social media, and, you can get your word out there relatively easily and inexpensively to start, right?
Right.
So that's making that transition, and then understanding that your business is like a plant. If you're not watering it and fertilizing it every day, you're dying.
Right.
And so and they face the same things that I did. Hey, if they were clocking in and out on a job every day, you don't get to turn it off. You don't get to turn it off.
You might miss that $1 million listing.
Absolutely.
Right?
And that has happened. You miss some opportunities if you're tied down to a job or, and those type of things. So it's really hard. I mean, it's not impossible, but you have to be purposeful and diligent when it comes to making that transition. So we really work on that. Initially, it's like, hey, what are your goals going to be? What's your transition plan going to be? And you can't just say, hey, at some point I'm going to get out. I was lucky that, I hit that point and I could sit back and think, oh, wait, I'm at the point where I really need to go. But, I think the smarter way to do it would be to, okay, this is when I am going to go.
Right.
It's just that, my family's been in real estate forever and a day. My parents still self-manage properties anyway. And so, it's always been kind of there in the back of my head. And so, but coaching them to make that transition is probably the hardest part. Now, from other agencies, that's a different story. So I've belonged to many, many different brokerages over the years: Coldwell Banker, Remax, Keller Williams, Collins Cook. 1, 2, 3, 4. Keller Williams again. I've been at 5 different brokerages, and I had an opportunity when we formed this brokerage to look at the things that I really liked from each one. And so that's why we're structured a little bit differently from everybody else. I made some promises to my agents that, we're going to be a sharper sword than a bigger club. So that's never going to be a larger agency than 30 people.
Okay.
Which is really kind of cool.
That's definitely unique.
Yeah.
A lot of people have the mindset of bigger is better. That's the only way to grow.
Yeah. And you can, but you know what? I'm beyond the point of wanting worldwide domination in real estate. It's about building something great. It's about building something where my agents can grow their businesses into what they want them to be. So I only have 2 jobs. One is setting an environment where my agents can do what they want to do and make their business look like what they want it to look like, whatever that goal is.
Right.
And the second one is to make sure that they stay legal while they're doing it, because I am their broker.
Right.
And so those are my 2 jobs in a nutshell. I mean, it's really, really simple.
Yeah.
So it's fun. It's a great project, and it's fun to try and get things rolling for these agents and so that they can live the life that they want to be.
Yeah. So you're still keeping people safe.
Yeah.
Just differently.
Yeah, I'm just making sure that their wallets don't get really light at this point, So I do my best.
Yeah, man. Man, well, I want to transition to the 5 rapid fire questions.
Oh my.
So hopefully you can continue to inspire us with your answers. All right, Dave, what is your favorite quote?
Oh, Vini Vidi Vici.
Ooh, he came.
Yeah, he conquered.
conquered.
And you know what? And the next one would probably be Altius Celtius Fortius.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Higher, faster, stronger. Yeah. So yeah, that was.
Yeah.
Those are 2 old ones. Okay, there. Now I'm dating myself.
Well, that's okay. Okay, you got to get pumped up for the day. You had a bad one. You're ready to go. What song are you listening to really get you amped up?
Oh, the amped up song. Can we come back to that one?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Okay. Next question. What accomplishment are you most proud of?
Getting one kid out of college and the next one's getting ready to graduate next year.
There's no way.
Absolutely. Yep.
I guess we've known each other too long because I feel like they should still be in high school.
Nope.
No.
Yeah.
Man.
One's going to nursing school and one's getting ready to work on his advanced degree. So yeah, we're almost out. Both of them are up at, one of them's up at Benedictine and one of them's out.
Wow.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Knowing that they're going to be, when I pass, that they can do whatever they want, that's all I need.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah. Raising 2 great kids is definitely an
Oh,
accomplishment.
yeah.
Absolutely.
They were really easy.
Yeah. Okay. 2 things on your bucket list that you have yet to check off.
Hit 60 miles an hour on a pair of skis is the first
Whoa.
one. I've hit 57.
Dang.
Yeah,
That
so-
sounds dangerous.
Well, I don't do it in the trees, so it's okay.
Okay,
all
right,
I
all right.
go to places where
Yeah,
it's
avoid the trees,
permissible.
avoid the trees.
So I've never hit 60 on that, and I also want to ski Japan.
Oh.
Yeah, that's on my bucket list.
Interesting.
Yeah, there are a couple ski resorts that have over 300 inches of powder.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's not really something you think about with Japan.
Great mountainous area. Yep, absolutely. And I think the culture is fascinating. So I've
Yeah.
always wanted to go to Japan, and certainly want to go to Japan in winter to ski.
Yeah. I have been to Japan, and it is very interesting. I spent a week in Seoul, Korea, at the Rotary International Convention. Did this trip with my father, which was such a blessing. And then we spent a week in Japan. Did some time in Kyoto and some time in Tokyo. And it's like a whole different world, and it just opens your eyes. It's
Yep,
great.
absolutely.
So definitely put that closer to the top of the list. Okay, last question. Fill in the blank. I am most inspired by.
The red tails.
I'm going to need a little bit more.
Okay, there you go. So it was many years ago. I got to meet some of the. Actually, got to meet 2 of the red-tailed pilots from World War II.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they were African American pilots, and they did a fantastic job. There have been several movies about them, but the fact that they went into a war with a country that had kind of a really odd relationship and served with dedication and dignity and those type of things was really kind of neat. And actually meet one of those people was really kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and purely by happenstance, we were driving through Las Vegas, and there was a convention of the Remainders.
No way.
Yeah, just literally walked into one of them, and they said, "Hey, this is who this is." I was like, "No way!"
Wow.
So, yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, that is super inspirational.
And so to know that people can face that type of adversity and still perform well and do the right thing and under those type of circumstances is just unbelievable. It makes my life look really, really simple.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so let's wrap up by asking you this. If somebody that's listening is thinking about transitioning their career, like you did from law enforcement into real estate, maybe they're thinking about something totally different, what sort of advice would you give them?
Plan as much as you can, but don't get into paralysis by analysis. At some point, you just got to make the leap. If you can. If you definitely need to make a transition, and there are many reasons why, do as much planning, save as much as you can, be prepared for expect the unexpected. I know that that's really cliche, but understand that it's not going to be as smooth as possible.
Right?
Yeah, they are. They definitely are. But do as much planning as you possibly can, and then when you decide to make the transition, jump. Actually we call it setting the boat on fire. So so what you do is the metaphor for it is you take your can of gasoline and a rowboat, and you go out into the middle of whatever that transition is going to be, and then when you're ready, you spread the gasoline on your boat, you set it on fire, and you jump in. And that's the only way that you're going to be able to do it. Don't be scared. Be scared. It is scary. It just means that you care, but do it anyway, and it's worth it.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, thanks, Dave, so much for
thank you
being
much.
on Reedy Set Grow. I'm Trish Reedy, your local mortgage lender, and I am So glad that you guys tuned in today to Reedy, Set, Grow. And hopefully Dave Jennings inspired you to go out and Reedy, Set, Grow.
Love it. Thanks so much.
The Reedy, Set, Grow podcast with Trish Reedy.